Right, Queens, we're going to talk about the Sadia Khan scandal. What I want to leave you with is kind of like a better guide of how to navigate the online space of knowledge and teachings and all this stuff so that you, as a consumer of information and knowledge and wisdom, can have better discernment or selection of what you are watching online. Okay? Because there seems to be like putting everyone in the same basket or labeling everyone as the same, and we're not all the same. Okay, and I want to give you some tips and red flags of what to look for in us as coaches. Okay, for one, I need you to understand that to be a coach, the requirement is that you have walked through what you're teaching. Any coach that is teaching something they haven't gone through, they're not really a coach. They are some kind of teacher, like they're in university. Okay? So, an actual proper coach is somebody who has walked the walk, done the thing, and have the results that you want to achieve. Okay? So, it has to be somebody embodied. So, for example, when I was a swimmer, I didn't hire a teacher in a university teaching how to know the human body like some kinesiology expert. No, I hired someone who had been a champion, like, Pan American Games and all the things. So in the case of the Sadia Khan, she hadn't even been married, or like at least for like longer than a day or whatever the fuck that was, right? So she's someone with a history of weird relationships, right? Not only that, she's someone with a history of like taking pride in like sucking someone's, like being a mistress like that, taking pride in that, right? So maybe that was knowledge that was not out there, but she's not someone who has done the thing she's teaching, right? Someone with like a history of failed relationships, yeah, maybe they learned. But I'm like, I wouldn't want to learn from someone who has this massive history of that, right? Or like who hasn't been in a decade long marriage. Because long term relationships, like marriage, is particularly requires you to have done it and at least done it successfully for a long time, right? So embodiment should be the first requirement. Hopefully for you to be able to choose who you're going to take advice from. I wouldn't have the balls or the nerve to show up having only been married like 6 months. No, I've been married for almost 15 years. And even then, it was like, oh my God, baby, we're gonna see. Hold on a second here. Just give me a minute. All right, the baby's fine. Anyway, I couldn't possibly, like, already it's hard enough to just show up online. And I say hard being someone like really reserved and introverted, like the way that I am, right? Like, I'm not some kind of, like open book, not at all, right? So already it can be like a whole, different animal to show up online, let alone if you haven't yourself gone through it and like successful enough to say, yeah, I feel confident about that, right? So again, I couldn't have the balls, but again, to do something like that. But I've seen 25-year-olds like dishing out advice on relationships when not only have they never been married for decades, but they're single, giving out advice. So it's the same thing with this chick, right? She's basically someone who hasn't done it, giving out advice. And you know what? The biggest thing about this that I was fucking floored by, the biggest disappointment for me, and not disappointment, I guess, not disappointment, but like the saddest thing that I saw about this was this type of person being shown in big podcasts like the Lewis Howe, whatever the fuck, the all these big podcasts. I was like, that's pathetic. It just goes to show you that having like 1 million followers or subscribers in YouTube means absolutely nothing. It's just a reflection of the herd nature of people, the sheep effect that they all go to the same thing, right? And that lack of discernment and critical thinking. I was like, whoa, that is freaking sad that you would put someone like that in your podcast. And of course, they didn't know, but man, you could see from a mile freaking long, right? Like, if you just take a look at the responses, her responses in the comments to her viewers and subscribers, it's like, whoa, yikes, like, yikes. Like, if you're able to talk to people like that, like, that's just the tip of the iceberg, right? So, you as a consumer, make sure you're watching somebody that at least has done what they say they have. Secondly, there was a lot of bitching about, oh, quickly, let me just mention, a coach is not required to have credentials. A coach is required to have embodiment, at least a proper coach. That is not a joke, right? So you're looking for credentials, go look for a doctor, go look for a mental health professional. And this is the thing, you should never be mixing these two things, right? And then it's like, well, it just so happened to be that she is an online influencer that also happens to be a psychologist. So the fact that she's mixing that, she's not even a psychologist, okay? She's not even that. But the fact that you're mixing, it's kind of like me putting into my brand the fact that I'm a credit risk expert. Like, how the fuck is this relevant? It's not even connected or relevant. Like mental health and relationships, like these are different things. One is your actual like healing, like you're not like properly functional. You're not at a level to have a coach when you need this type of attention, like medical attention, right? So if you're, you know, in the forums, like if you go on Reddit, you're gonna see the main bitching that consumers have is that, oh, they don't have credentials. Dude, like, you want credentials? Go to a hospital. Go to mental institution where you can find the credentials that you need. A coach is not there to give you that. A coach is meant to be embodiment, to take you to the finish line and to help to guide you have the success that you're looking for. Okay? That this person has done. Okay? So you mixing like therapy and mental health with like coaching, these are completely separate topics. You shouldn't mix them. Okay? So that's why the big scandal with her is that she thought it was going to help her brand, and to the simpletons, I'm sorry to say this. I'm sorry to say this to somebody that is simple enough to not get this. Yeah, it's gonna work, but it just so happens that there's a big majority that don't critically think, right? A lot of people don't critically think. Like, it's the masses, it's the mainstream. So when you see somebody that has 1 million followers, like millions, or like 800K, whatever, like, okay, stop and like, and think, are these person the example that I want to follow? Well, they could be lying. Well, it's honest to you to detect lies, to learn who is lying. In my practice, I teach this, right? To get better at detecting lies from men in this particular instance, that, but I think it's a skill that every human being should have, to know who's lying to you, right? Um, and and get more in touch with your intuition, because your intuition doesn't lie, right? There's that. I mean, and of course, like the stuff said in that podcast, right? Like it's so mainstream. It's so mainstream. And you know what's so mainstream? Like the bitching. The bitching. Like the minute you start seeing people complain, oh, because men do this, or like, it's a man, or like whenever you see that tone of like victimhood anywhere, huge red flag, right? So if they're complaining, which there's a lot of in her podcast, right? Complaining about men, or like if you look closely, you can see that there is an actual hatred towards women there, right? Kind of like, if you don't have enough plastic surgery, then you're not in the game for the rich men. This is what she's preaching. Okay, like she herself has enough plastic surgery to obliterate a planet, right? I'm not saying I don't. I have breast implants, right? For one, right? But preaching that beauty puts you at the top of the food chain, that's an absolute lie. That's an absolute lie, right? Um, it puts you at the top of maybe attention, if you're an attention whore. If you want like fleeting attention, yeah. And that's what she's capitalizing on, right? Attention. Attention is good to make money. Yes, today, in today's day and age, attention is your currency, right? In social media, that's how people are selling things. That's what marketing is, right? Um, so the big message for you is question, when you're seeing a big following, question, okay, this is really mainstream. Let me think if this aligns with what I want, right? Like if the masses are being drawn to that, stop and think. Well, what happens if I become viral overnight? I urge you to do the same thing. Is she preaching mainstream stuff, or does it challenge the status quo? Does it challenge the status quo and the sheep thinking, or the herd nature of humans, right? Let's talk about pricing of coaches for a moment. So what a coach typically sells is life experience, you being able to learn from somebody who has done it, life experience. You can't go and get this in university. I'm not talking about Sadia. Well, for one, she doesn't have the life experience. So you want to pay for that? It's up to you. And this is my whole point here. So again, what is being sold is a person's like energy, right? And their framework and methodology, right? What is the mindset? What is the emotional state that it takes to reach a certain outcome? Okay, that's when you hear, oh, like you paid to be in my energy, that's what it means. The emotional state and mental state that it takes to get to a certain outcome, in addition to a framework. right? To success, to the purported success, right? So this is not things that you can pay a psychologist for. These are not things that you can pay or go to a university for. It's very unique, each person's life experience. So people are entitled to charge whatever the market is willing to pay. So if you see someone charging X or Y, is because people want to pay that. If they don't want to pay that, they wouldn't pay it. So I've seen in Reddit people bitching about, oh, so and so charged so much. Well, why are you even there in their space? And this is not to defend the Sadia girl at all, right? At all. I'm like, for one, I thought it was like, what the fuck is this, right? But anyway, right? Like I just thought it was very stupid. Like millions of other like millions of other channels, right? Like the Orion guy. Oh my god. Yeah. And funnily enough, they've been together and all these things, right? They're made for each other, I guess. I actually I don't like saying these things, but I'm thinking out loud. There you have it. Not being politically correct here. I'm telling you the truth. Um, what was I saying? I forgot what I was saying, but oh yeah, like people bitching in the forums about um prices of coaches. Yeah, a coach is not meant to be mainstream. A coach is not meant to be for the masses, right? A coach is meant to be more like an elite type of, and nowadays, with the internet and the emergence of like people sharing their life experience, there's a lot more coaches, right? So it's all supply and demand. If people are willing and want to pay that, it's the supply and demand chick. Like you can't argue with the market, right? If you think it's stupid to pay that, don't pay that. Don't pay that. Um, I had a client recently who told me like, you know what? I'm not the kind who would have ever paid anyone on the internet for anything. But she's like, when I bumped into you, it was an immediate like yes. Like an immediate like yes, I'm paying that, like against all the rational thinking, if you will, because she followed her intuition, and you are to do the same. Follow your intuition. If your intuition tells you no, click X, you do that. There will be someone who will be a match for you. Maybe it's your psychologist. Maybe it's a coach that charges even more, right? Like, I felt for people, no, I don't feel right about paying this to you, but I felt right to paying it for someone, not because they had more followers or even experience. It was just a feeling. And you are to follow that. Follow your higher self, follow your gut. So that's my guide and advice to you. Um, you have to be very discerning of what you consume. The other day, I was finding myself. Let me tell you, the other day I bumped into a channel of a woman talking about very strong topics. She was talking about like intimate things in marriage, okay? And it was kind of like it was kind of intense what she was saying. And when somebody talks about really intense things, that's when you get sucked in, right? So I also get sucked in. And I started feeling a little like just off about my whole life. And I was like, wait a minute, wait a minute. This is like a prostitute giving advice. I'm like, and that's when I had it, right? I was like, why am I looking at a prostitute giving advice? Like, come on. And yeah, I'm sorry, these aren't sex workers. No, they're prostitutes. They're people who just have a very low vibration and very low view of marriage, sex, relationships. Yeah, yeah. Anyway, baby's crying. I gotta go, but be discerning, please, and be selective of what you listen to. Okay? Like, do your due diligence and question, like, where the masses go. Even if that's me tomorrow, question what I say. Okay? So I'll see you on the next screen. Let me know in the comments if you've ever thought coaches are controversial. Bye.